What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News and 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. And I host the only online show in the world for fathers and dads that is sponsored by Dove Men Care. It's also co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization, and also I am the board chair of an organization called the Global Food and Drink Initiative. And the purpose of the Global Food and Drink Initiative is to showcase Blacks in the diaspora that are involved in food, wine, and travel. And today, I'm wearing my Dad's Talking hat today. Dad's Talking is a conversation, ongoing conversation that I have one-on-one with dads, and sometimes one and a few dads, with dads around the world. And today we have another new friend for the Dr. Vibe Show. I met him through the Clubhouse platform, and we've had some great conversations offline, but today I'm presenting him to you. As a young man, Samuel William Burwell spent most of his time on the set of his father's radio show, watching as his father wrote, edited, and produced his own content, all based on serving others. The youngest of 6 children, he inquired of his siblings, their father's mission for creating the radio show. One answer stood out: to leave a legacy. His father accomplished just that. Becoming a loving husband and a father too, Sam has found himself not only adding to value to his family, but also to those around him. His passion for helping others remain inspired became part of his life, pursuing to find him a way to dive into serving others. So you're hearing that word serving a lot. So you know it's going to come up today in the conversation. He decided to tap into his father's legacy, operating within his unique ability to bring people together. Sam created Diamond Mind Results to provide a space for others to speak their truth while encouraging others. Understanding that adding value to others is what he's called to do, he has established a way to keep his father's legacy alive. So we are very blessed and highly favored today to have Samuel William Burwell on the Dr. Vibe Show. Dad's Talking. What's going on?
I'm good. How you doing, Dr. Vibe?
I am outstanding, blessed, highly favored, magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And jacked to have you on the program today.
Awesome. Thank you. I heard you say that you got your dad hat on. I was looking, I said, oh, look, I got the same dad hat he has.
I got my shine head on. I got my shine head, right? I got my shine head. How's the day going?
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. It's going pretty good. I saw this post that Will Smith put up that said if you have a good day, that turns into a week, turns into a good month, turns into a good year, you mess around and have a good life. And I'm just having a good time right now and enjoying everything that's taking place. And I was really looking forward to being able to sit down with you today. So it's been long coming, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah, we've been corresponding back and forth for a few weeks, and we've had some sessions offline. I hope I've been of positive value.
Very much so. Very much so.
Thank you, and I'm glad that you had the time in your positive, productive schedule to share with us. So, like we love to do on the Dr. Vibe Show, we want to scroll back. Tell us in your bio, it talks about you growing up. Can you share some of the early Samuel days growing up? What was that like growing up?
I think it's like, so depending on where you live at is different, but I think it's the same for everybody, especially if you're able to be in a loving household. I would say that it was crazy. My father would wake me up. He would come home and probably be 11 o'clock, maybe midnight. And if he hear me toss and turn a little bit, he would wake me up and he would say, hey, come here, come try on this suit. And he would have me try on different suits, and he would, like when you're getting something tailor-made and they bulge the back of it up to see how it fits you, and tell me the difference between a 3-piece, 2-piece, and double-breasted suits. And one of the main things he used to always say is, listen, you can always have a bad collar, but if you put collar stays in it, it'll look expensive. But if you have an expensive shirt and you don't have collar stays in it, it'll look cheap. And I would be like, yo, I'm just trying to go to bed so I can go to school in the morning. I don't even understand why we're doing this in the middle of the night. But it was stuff like that he taught me so many years ago that wound up staying with me for the rest of my life. Like, if I could just share, when I was 12 years old, I was in the middle of the street and I'm playing basketball, dribbling basketball back and forth. And my dad calls me from playing with everybody. And he has a suit on. So anybody that knows my dad knows he always wears suits. And he said, I want to show you how to fix a flat. And I was so angry at 12 years old, like, why are we talking about flats right now? And I'm trying to play basketball. Well, he showed me how to fix a flat that day, and I never had to use it until I was 32 years old. And my son was in the back seat, and my wife was pregnant with our second son, Roman, at the time. So Josiah was in the back seat, and we were on 95, and 95 is the big strip of highway, and there's tractor trailers constantly coming. I got a flat tire. And as we were sitting on the side of the road, I remembered as I was waiting for AAA that I had a spare tire in the back of the car. So I popped open the trunk, put some gloves on, and I proceeded to start fixing the flat. And it was in the middle of the night, so my wife had her phone out and she was having the light shining on me. And when we got back in the car, she was like, I didn't know you know how to fix flats. And then it hit me. My dad taught me how to do that when I was 12 years old. And something that he showed me how to do when I was 12 didn't show back up in my life until I was 32 years old. And it wasn't until I was an adult that I was super thankful for what he gave to me back then. And with me having my own children now, I see that everything that my father was doing was instilling things in me that I would need. And it's showing up today. So I'm just super thankful for that.
That's amazing. Great story to start our conversation with. And I want to delve down a little bit deeper on the special relationship is what that your father had or very much when you were younger. It sounds like there were very special things that made that bond with your father special. Can you showcase some things that made that relationship, especially when you were younger, very special?
Yeah, so well, I'll tell you, I think in a natural sense, here's what it was. My mother, she passed away when I was 6 years old. So at this time, I only had my father. Now, thankfully, I also had family, I also had church, and I had a community. It's a true statement that it takes a village to raise a child. But my father played a big part in that, being a single father. All of his children, went to college. All of them have wonderful degrees and everything like that. All of my older siblings. I remember I got hurt. I was playing baseball one day and I had a cut in the middle of my hand. And my dad made me feel better, not by fixing the problem, but he showed me that he could draw energy around it to take the pain away. And he didn't have anything else at the time, so he took an ink pen and he started drawing little circles bigger from the smallest to the biggest all the way around my hand. And he said, this is going to protect you. And then all of a sudden mentally I felt better, and now my hand wasn't hurting anymore. And I just thought about different things that my father would do or teach me that we as adults know that it might not be the truest thing, but it's something to help you feel better. And I think that my father, he was very, very good with business. It was hard for him to raise his children because his wife passed away. So he was struggling with that. And I think that, I'm thankful that he was good at what he did because he used those things to help build and mold me up. So whereas I would go to the studios and radio stations with him, and I would be like, I'm happy about going because I'm spending time with my dad. And I get used to get the crumb donuts. I used to love those things, and I used to get these donuts, and I would sit down with him, and I was actually able to be quiet in the studio. But I do know that I remember being around all of these older people, and I was like, man, I don't really want to have nothing to do with this. I want to play. I want to do this. I want to do that. But all the times that I was going to the studio, just spending time with my dad, I never thought that I would start doing the same type of things that he did. And one day, again, it hit me while we're in the studio and we're preparing to record a podcast. And nothing was working right, and the audio was off, and this was wrong, and that was wrong. And me and studio abroad, my friend Tone, that does a lot of production with me, we're back just trying to fix stuff and make things work. And my partner was saying, "Hey, how do you know how to do all of this stuff?" And then again, it hit me. I was like, I don't know. And I was like, oh, wait, this is because I used to go to the station with my dad all the time when I was younger. So it was cool because it wasn't a whole lot of going to basketball courts with him, a whole lot of playing baseball. I did that stuff with other people, but I had a lot of actual enjoyment of spending time with him while he was doing his craft. Or and it wasn't so much that he was at work because Dr. Val, when we do the type of stuff that we do, you're passionate about it and you love it. So I never ever felt like I went to work with my father. I always felt like I was going with him to help serve the world. And that's how I always felt. Like I would always see people who really loved and gravitated to my dad and always spoke about how much he helped them. Nothing in that ever said he was doing it for a living or doing it for work. I just knew he was always serving and helping people.
Wow. You are in a rare breed because When we hear about single parents, especially in the Black environment, most of the times it's single mothers.
Yeah.
We don't hear a lot about single fathers raising their kids. Tell me what it was like going through that experience.
Um, well, for the first few, for the, I would say maybe the first 2 years or so. And so this is, so since we say in the Black community, I would say this, that we got to be more truthful with our children. And not saying that we're lying to them, but we got to actually tell them what's going on and not be afraid that we're taking their childhood from them. For the first 2 or 3 years, when my mother passed away, I was 6 years old. I thought that I killed my mother. And the reason why I thought that I was responsible is because one day I asked my mom for some gum. And when I asked her for the gum, I made a mistake and I dropped it into her cereal. So she had to go downstairs and fix a new bowl of cereal. On her way downstairs, she slipped and fell down the steps. She had to be rushed to the hospital.
Oh my
Something
goodness.
happened when she fell down the steps. And when she fell, it magnified what was going on in her body. And my father made wonderful money. My mother made wonderful money. She was a personal cook. Um, so healthcare wasn't the issue. We had healthcare, but for whatever reason, when she fell, it shook up vibrations in her body, and they found out that my mother had breast cancer and she also had a tumor. I didn't know that at the time. So right after she fell, she came home with a cast on her neck. Shortly after that, a few weeks later, she passed away.
Oh my goodness.
Now, me being a 6 year old child, we had church at the house, we had family at the house, and everybody was just there with us for the last few weeks of my mother's life. My mother passed away in my father's arms as he was trying to pick
Oh
her up to help take her to the bathroom. So when he tried to help pick her up and take her to the bathroom, she passed away in his arms in their bedroom. Again, as a child, I just knew that we slept in my dad's bedroom, and my dad had this huge, huge California king bed.
yeah.
But he never slept in there after my mom passed away. So for about maybe 15, 16, 17 years, he always slept on the couch downstairs, never thought about it, never questioned it, never knew why until he turned 50. And he told us that it was hard for him to be in that room and sleep after his wife passed away. But I had no idea. I just knew that was our room. And now I also had no idea that I wasn't the reason why my mother passed away. And what happened was I drew a picture at school. And when I drew this picture at school, the teacher saw it and she questioned me about it and I started crying and it was the picture of my mother's funeral. And I remember telling her what happened. Somehow I spoke to my sister's godmother about it because she was watching me at the time. And she told me how my mother passed away. And then I also didn't find out more details about it until I was an adult. And my wife is the one who actually told me more details about it. Had no idea. And so I was just sitting there like all of this time, I thought that I was the reason why she passed away. Come to find out she had a tumor and had cancer, and I never knew that. So for 3 years I carried that as a child, not really sharing it with nobody, but I thought that I was the reason why she passed away. So dealing with that and then seeing my father, it was again community because I didn't know that my father was taking it as hard as he did. My father wound up being very sick. He had diabetes. He was having all kinds of health issues. He never showed us. He never told us. He got up every day and he said he was going to go get sponsors for his show. He was going to go write commercials for people and he was recording at the radio station. He's doing TV, teaching people how to do real estate, all of these different things. And I never knew that my father was actually ever sick. So when you ask, how was it growing up for you? Him and everybody around me did such a marvelous job at allowing this kid to be a kid. I thought that I was an exception for the rules because my best friend, his name is David. I would go spend the night at David's house. And then David mom had a washing machine. I would wash clothes over there. Then I would go to my godmom's house, who was his aunt. And then after I left my godmom's house, she would wash my clothes. Then I would go to my other friend's Jared house. And then after I washed my clothes over there, I would go to my cousin's Craig house. And I was at my cousin Craig house every single weekend for 3 years straight. And I'm just thinking, man, I'm living a life. And again, it wasn't until I was an adult that I realized everybody wasn't letting me at their house just because they wanted to spend time with another child in their house. They knew how hard my mother's death was for my father. They were helping him out and spreading around the burden and spreading around the weight, that I was able to go out to these different people's houses so they could take care of me as a village. And, just to fast forward a little bit, my father never went to school, but he was so good at what he did, he got an honorary degree to teach at a college. Once he started teaching, he realized that there were certain grants that my sisters could get to go to school, that he wound up resigning from that position just so my sisters could get the help to go to school. So my sister Debrina, she has a bachelor's degree from Temple. My sister Corrine, she has a bachelor's degree from Penn State. My sister Miriam has a bachelor's degree from Bethune-Cookman down in Florida. All three of them have, I'm sorry, bachelor's degree. All three of them have master's degrees from St. Joe's University. That would have never happened had my dad kept that job. And so his whole life, he sacrificed a whole lot just so his children could have. And I never really realized everything that he did until I was an adult.
Wow. A few things. First of all, condolences on your mother passing away.
Thank you.
Second of all, is your father still alive?
No, he passed away 2019.
How did you handle that?
Um, I don't think I did.
Okay.
Completely work. So me doing the work that I do is pushing through that. Um, so let's see here.
And you don't have to go too deep into it. I just, this is
No,
a
it's
safe,
it's it's
safe and
it's
brave
fine.
space. But
It's fine.
I just the testimonial you've given to your father is so powerful. Like we could just end the conversation right here because it's so powerful. Just the fact that he was a single father and all the stuff that he did, wait, he's left legacy in you and all your other siblings is phenomenal.
Yeah, I know. I listen, Dr. Val. Thank you. I got no problem answering the question. I'm just trying to keep from crying right now.
Yeah,
So,
if you
you
need to
know,
cry, cry. I almost feel like crying because
yeah,
it's so powerful, this story that you've just shared. And again, I thank you and bless you, and especially bless your family, but most importantly bless your father and mother, because I know even the short period of time your mother was on the earth, she did incredible things. And the longer period of time that your father's on the earth. So you take your time. This is safe and brave space. So anything you're doing here is you're honoring your family. So no problem. It's good. You take your time.
uh,
You tell me when you're good. You tell us when you're fine.
I'm okay.
All right. So what qualities has your father instilled in you that you still carry on with today?
um, I want to answer that first question that you gave me, but as far as the qualities, I want to think on that because it's hard to it's hard to say, and I think that's what's powerful about it. Because normally, and the reason I say it's powerful is because we all know, whether we've been in it or not, we all know people who've been in abusive relationships. And the hardest part about being in an abusive relationship is, one, not knowing that you're in it, and then two, not knowing how to get out of it. And so a lot of people on the outside, we judge people for being in those relationships, but we have no idea how difficult it is. And it's because you're in a world of not knowing. And I say that in a positive way. For me, you're asking, what things that he instilled in me. It's hard to say because they don't show up until third party say something. Like when they asked, how did you know how to hook up the studio equipment? When my wife said, how did you know how to fix a flat? It's stuff that he put in me. And when you instill something in anybody in somebody, that's not them wearing a badge saying, I gave this to you and I did this. That's just you having it. And when you instill into somebody, you own it. So sometimes you won't realize it until you sit there and think about it. Um, I can tell you that when I do different speaking engagements or different things, older people who knew my father say, you sound just like him. I would walk into it and I would say, oh, yeah, I spoke this way or I sounded that way. And I'm thinking, oh, it's just me. It's getting good. And then older people say, son, you sound just like your father. And I'm like, oh, okay, that wasn't me. I would go to the next thing and I would do this and I would do that. And I would think I did this wonderfully. And they say, you know, you look just like your father when you did such and such. I said, okay, cool. So none of this is me. So everything that you would see as Sam Burwell as an entrepreneur, um, you don't look at it as I'm great. George Zaluki is a gentleman that I know. He said that when he's standing on stage, what you see is him, but what you don't see is all the people who poured into him that are not on stage. And so anytime you see me, you're thinking, oh, this young guy Sam is cool. I'm just a reflection of everything that was poured into me from, you know, my father and those before me. So I can't take any credit for any of it.
Wow.
To answer that other question from you
Sure.
about
Sure.
me dealing with my father's death, me building my business is my way of dealing with it. But I realized that I wasn't at first. So um, in 2018, we started really working with Studio Abroad and started building things up to work for the podcast, to do all of this different stuff. My father didn't do radio, so he was doing radio. He was writing commercials for people. He was speaking on one of the local broadcast networks for television, teaching people how to buy real estate pennies on a dollar, working with the homeschool council on their television network. So my dad was doing a lot of things. When my mother got sick and passed away, he stopped doing all of it. And I remember his last days of broadcasting. We were in the house and I was playing with my little Thomas the Engine Train, and I would have my bag of snacks and I would watch him. And now what we have is green screens. It
Yeah.
was just a white screen that he put up behind him so you couldn't see that we was in the living room. And he started broadcasting at home just to be with
Wow.
us more. So I remember that, and then shortly after, he just couldn't do it anymore, so he stopped. And when he stopped doing it, it was maybe 26 years. And in 2018, he said, you know, I want to go back on radio. Why did he say he wanted to go back on radio? My mother passed away, and that's when he stopped. She had breast cancer. My sister Miriam wound up having the same breast cancer that my father had.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
so my sister Miriam, she wound up beating it. You know, she rung her bell. You know, thankfully she beat her cancer. But my dad said, you know, because at the time he was doing this, he also had the only radio show at the time for special needs children. And he would never say it and he would never admit it. And we was like, yo, you need to say this. People need to know. And the reason why he had it is because one day a parent was yelling at him profusely, just digging into him, and they weren't even angry with him. He just took the blunt for the people that they were actually angry at, and he took it. And at the end of the day, at the end of the conversation, she was like, you know, so all of you people who work at the school, you this, and this. And after she got done talking, he said, "Ma'am, I just want to say something to you. I don't work for the school." But my dad represented them so much and so well that this lady thought he held a position at the school. And then she apologized to him so much about tearing into him, about not having the help that she needed for her son. And my dad said, listen, I don't mind. I don't care about anything that you did. In fact, I'm glad you told me. Can we go have some coffee and let's discuss it even more? So the lady wound up going, sitting down, calm, calmly now, telling my dad all of the different things that was wrong. He took notes on it. He revamped his whole entire show and then
Wow.
created a show for parents that had special needs children to
Mm,
educate them on how to get the proper help that they needed. And that's what he started doing. And it just so happened that I wound up having a god sister who was a special needs child. And that's what he dedicated the rest of his time to doing when he was on radio before my mother passed away. So now he stops doing everything. My mother passes, my sister Marion winds up getting the same cancer my mother had. He says, "Hey, I want to go back on radio, and this time I want to create a show called Let's Talk About Cancer." So now he wants to leave even more legacy for my mother, my sister who beat it. Now my sister says, "Hey, you know, I want to start getting into speaking and talk to the cancer community to motivate them now that after I beat it." And so now my sister Miriam is my father's co-host on the show. But but I saw how hard it was for my dad to do the show. You know,
mm,
because like I said, you know, he didn't sleep in the bedroom that my mother was in after she passed. It was so many different things, and I saw how hard it was for him to start the show, and I was like, yo, he's stressed. I had this wonderful mixing board at home so I can record my podcast. It's a really nice mixing board. I've never used it, never took it out the box. Next month, I was supposed to do it this month. Next month, I'm going to take it out the box and start working with it.
Yeah.
My father brought me that mixing board right before he did his first and last show. So what happened was in 2018, he decides to start doing his show again. So he starts working at it, start working towards it. He finds the radio station. It's this gentleman that he used to work with 20 years ago. He didn't think my dad was adequate enough, didn't think that he could handle the show, didn't think that he would be able to finish the contract. My father was sick, and you could see it on him. So my father jumped through 1,000 different loops, and then after that was done, they put up a big roadblock, and my dad passed that, and the gentleman said, "You know, Mr. Sam, I'm going to go ahead and give you the show. I don't know why I doubted you." And this, all these different things. And when we went to the studio, he told us about how they deliberately tried to stop my dad from doing the show, and he beat every obstacle they had, so they had no choice but to give him the show. Now, he sets up for the show. When he sets up for the show, he does one episode. I'm in the middle of trying to pursue doing a TED talk, the TEDx talk. So I start recording my own documentary about it. So I wanted my father to be in the documentary. So I sent the camera crew to go record my father doing his very first radio show in 26 years. Thankfully, we did that because that was the last time he was ever on the show.
So only did that one show.
The one show
Oh my goodness.
when he got done doing that show, he went home. My sister Marion was with him. She didn't think he was doing well, but she just thought he was resting. He was laying down on the hallway, and she's like, "Oh, he was just resting or whatever," and he said he was fine. She goes about her business. The next day, he's still there. Now she's questioning the situation. Come to find out, he had to get rushed to the hospital. My dad had two strokes. He had one that night when he laid down on the steps, and my sister didn't know it. But my dad is so strong that he still tried to push on, move, and talk. And she was like, nah, something's not adding up with the way he's talking. And that's why she had him sent to the hospital. When he was in the hospital, he had another stroke. So I believe it was March 12th. I believe it was March 12th, 2019. He did the show. March 13th, he's in the hospital. He never came back home. He stayed in intensive care the whole entire time. He flatlined twice. And
Mm,
because my sisters was in the hospital, they were able to tell the doctors, "Hey, he just flatlined," and they was able to resuscitate him. They did an open heart surgery on him, and then did an oral surgery on him, and he was still here.
mm.
And he didn't pass away until July 4th. He kept fighting to come home, kept fighting to come home. My mother passed away in the house, and all he wanted to do, like he hated being in the hospital, so all he wanted to do was be home when he passed away. So the doctors told us to come in for a meeting on a Wednesday, and they said your father won't make it to the weekend. So what do you want to do? They said, well, listen, let him come home. He wants to come home. Get him out the hospital and let him be home. So we told him he was coming home. He was happy. Even on his deathbed, and he knew he was still cracking jokes and doing stuff. And he couldn't even open his mouth. But the response that he was giving us, he was cracking jokes with my aunts and stuff like that. And he was so happy. We told him he was coming home, and we brought him home. And it wasn't maybe 3 or 4 hours later he passed away. And so
Mm.
I'm thinking, I'm just going ahead about it. I'm just doing whatever I need to do. Maybe 6 months later, throughout this whole entire period, I'm taking my laptop bag to work. I'm supposed to be working on the documentary. I'm supposed to be working on this book that I'm working on. I'm supposed to be working on the podcast. Supposed to be working on the YouTube channel. All of these different things, and I would take my bag to work with me to my day job, to my night job, and I would come back home. And then the next day, I would take it with me to the day job and to the night job, and I would come back home. And this happened for about 6, 7 months. So finally, my friend Tone with Studio Abroad, he comes up to my job. He just pops up. Didn't know he was coming. And I said, "Hey, Tone, what you doing here?" And he said, "Bro, are you okay?" And in that moment, I realized I was like, "No, I'm not." And it just clicked that for 6 months, I've been taking my stuff to work with me every single day, but I wasn't doing anything. And it wasn't until he said that I realized that I wasn't handling my father's passing well. And it wasn't because, like, my father passed away. It was because everything that I'm trying to do as an entrepreneur, he was part of that. So when he passed away, it stopped me in my tracks. It's a book that I was writing, and in the dedication page, I'm so thankful I read it to him. And in the dedication page, there was a part to my father that says, "To the man who taught me everything." He thought that when I started realizing what an entrepreneur and what personal development is back in 2008, he thought that the people that I was around back then were the ones that was molding me and was teaching me how to talk and doing all these different things. And I wrote in that dedication page to my father that although these people have helped, they were just fine tuning what was already there, because it was my father, who I was around for 25 years, that educated me not by what he said, but by everything that he did and everything that I am. It was because of him. And for some reason, I said I need to read him this dedication page. I don't think he's going to pass away, but I just need to read it to him. And I'm just so thankful that I did read that to him. Otherwise, he would have passed away thinking, oh, Sam is giving praise to all these different people that did stuff. And that's where he got it from. It was like, no, it was him the whole time. You know, they would not have been able to work with me and do anything had he not did that. And so it literally took me almost a year after he passed away to start trying to get stuff together and start trying to move and do things again. So now you're talking about 2021. You know, we're just now saying, okay, let's start actually putting the book together. We just recently put the YouTube channel together. It's only 2 or 3 videos up. We're just now about to put more up. We've been working on the podcast the whole time. That isn't even out yet. And it was for, I had to fight through it. And I said, okay, if I'm struggling with this, I don't need anybody saying, you know, well, this is how you got to get over it. That's how you got to get over it. I said, okay, we just got to do the work. So I said, instead of taking the approach of let's build the business and let's put the content out, because that's the business. The business isn't putting the content out. The business is actually helping people. The content is just the residue of being brave enough to record what you're doing so other people can see it. So I said, well, look, let's just start doing that. And we actually did what the mission was, which was help people. And I've helped 2 other people, Portia Pearson and Lorenzo Chalmers. I helped 2 other people start their own podcast. Portia's is Pain into Power. Lorenzo podcast is It Is What It Is with Lorenzo Chalmers. Here's 2 people that just completed their first seasons of their podcast because I helped them, and I don't even have my own out. And I just started just doing what the work actually was, and I just think that was the best way that I could have, like, you know, worked through that and honored him. And now we're getting to that point where we're about to start doing and releasing our own things, and I just wanted to make sure that everything that was done, that it would be exactly what my father wanted. He always talked about leaving a legacy for his family, and he was just starting to get back out there in the game, and he passed away. But without even knowing it, he left an actual legacy. See, these same people that I was telling you about when I was younger, that my father knew, I saw them when my father passed away. And the same people that I remember seeing when I was a little kid, they were adults now, and they were like, oh, you don't know me or you don't remember me, but your father helped me start my business. Your father helped me learn how to play the piano. Your father helped me become a better singer. Your father helped me do real estate. All of these different people was saying how my father helped him with all these different skills and talents he had,
Mm-hmm.
and was saying how thankful they were that they were now providing for their families and doing different things, all because of what my father did. And I'm like, man, he doesn't even know that legacy that he had. And then now for me, you know, I'm doing the same thing that he was doing, which I had no intentions that I would be doing. And I'm still doing it in honor of him and making sure he's around for that. So I just think it was just a blessing for how that all worked out. So like I'm literally just now getting to the point of, coming to from his passing.
Excellent. Well, we're going to transition to Pet and spend some time about your journey. I know, but it is Dad's talking. It's the first one of the first conversations that a father's gone in deep about giving homage to his father. And I always say, because I do a lot of helping of fathers and men, one of the most critical times in a man's life, whether he's a father or not, is when his father passes away.
Mm.
Regardless of the relationship that he has with his dad, it's a significant moment. Let me ask, when you were younger, what did you want to be when you grew up? Did you have something you wanted to be when you grew up?
No, I wanted to do martial arts. I do martial arts now.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't really know. I didn't really know. The only thing was, when my nephew asked me, I was in the 10th grade, and he asked me what did I want to do when I grew up. I didn't know because I wasn't good at reading. I wasn't good at writing. All of
Yeah,
my sisters was getting on a roll, but that was because of my mother passing away. My mom passed when I started the first grade, so
right.
there wasn't a lot of attention there. And I would see my big brother in the barbershop, and he was cutting hair. And I said, okay, I want to be a barber. So I wound up opening up my own barbershop. But the thing was, it wasn't cutting hair that attracted me. What attracted me was when I was sitting in a barbershop, I would watch my brother, and I would see people come in and wave to him. I would see people come in and bring food to him. I would see people.
Was he your mentor?
Um, I
Or-
think that everybody that I watched played a part. And the reason why I'm not going to flat out say yes, and like my brother knows out of respect, is because my brother didn't live with me. I didn't spend a lot of time with my brother. My father had him when he was 15, so he was never in the house with me. I only saw my brother whenever I went to go get haircuts. So I didn't see him often. I didn't talk to him often. But my family is still close knit. So even whenever we did talk, it was like all love. There was never any issues. So I didn't see him all the time. But fun fact, when I do start releasing my podcast, my brother is the one that's editing all the episodes and things like that, you know. But just that
Okay.
little piece, you know.
What was your first job?
My first job, I was doing demolition for a small construction company out of high school.
What?
Yeah, I was doing demolition for a small construction company, and our job was to break down houses, tear them up, and then get rid of all the rubble. The machines come in, and then we would watch new houses be put up, and then we would help assist with that stuff while everybody built the new houses. Then we would go to the next one and demolish and tear that one down.
Wow. Okay. How did you meet your wife?
So we have a different understanding on that, but we have a mutual friend. Her name is Asia Wright.
Oh,
Asia Wright was my neighbor, and
by
Asia.
the way, you know that if I got your partner on, she'd probably give a different story. So
Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, listen, in some parts that's the, and we were just now having a discussion about this maybe last week. Like, no, my story's true. No, my story's true. So
okay,
she
we'll
might
get your
email.
version today.
Yeah, she might email Dr. Rob and say, I got my own story to
Yes, I'm bring
tell.
her on.
So Asia Wright is the middleman, the liaison. That was a good friend of mine. She was my next door neighbor. Asia was in a singing group with my wife. I
Okay.
never met my wife before, never seen her before. When I was in high school, we used to actually walk home in the same group together, never spoke to each other.
Yeah.
We had all the same friends, but never crossed paths with each other. And then one day, we wound up crossing paths where she went to go speak to Asia. I went to speak to Asia. This part we both agree on, and that was the first time. That was the first time we actually saw each other. And after that, this was, I think, man, I think, yeah. After that, we wound up seeing each other, and Aaliyah told Asia, she asked the questions about who I was. And then I had asked Asia a couple questions about her. And then she found out that I was her neighbor. So then all of a sudden, the music rehearsals started being at Asia's house. And so I wound up seeing this person that I never seen before all the time. And so, we wound up spending time with each other for maybe a year, just being friends. And then after that, we decided to actually, come together and be with each other. So we were together for a very, very, very long time. Very
Okay.
long time.
Good. Good.
Grew up together. People would even say that we were brothers and sisters because we started looking alike.
When did you know that she was the one?
When I first started talking to her. So my personal philosophy, I never wanted to date somebody that I didn't think I would be with long term or forever. I feel like it was a waste of time.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying I wouldn't talk to nobody or anything like that, but just if we're going to be in a relationship, I think it'd just be pointless if we knew it would end today or tomorrow.
Right.
And it was something about, I just always felt comfortable. I always felt at ease. I always felt like I could close my eyes and fall asleep around this person. Like, it was just always comfortable for me. And I was like, yo, I know that this person would be the one. And so I actually told her when we were young, I said, hey, I want to be serious with you, but I go to church and I do these different things. And so I was like, that's what my life is. And that's the person that I want to be with. And she wound up doing that. So, we both fellowship together and everything like that. Funny
Okay.
story. So I was dating somebody before her, and me and this person was like a year and a half in. And I said, "Hey, if me and the guys were at the house together, would you mind like baking us cookies or doing something like that?" And she was like, I'll go to the store and buy you some. And it's nothing wrong with that philosophy. There's nothing wrong with it.
Okay.
But the way I grew up, my family is so close knit. They take care of each other like over and over and over again.
Hmm.
And so I just I wanted that. And so I said, okay, cool, no problem. This is a year and a half in. Now, fast forward, I'm with my wife. Literally a year and a half in, I didn't ask the same question. What happened was I'm working in a barbershop
Yeah.
and my wife called me and said, "Hey babe, do you want breakfast?" I said, "Yeah, I would like some breakfast." "Okay, I'm gonna bring you some to the barbershop." Instead of bringing me breakfast to the barbershop because she knew the barbershop was a good community, she went and purchased Tupperware, made breakfast for the whole entire shop and brought it in and fed everybody. And I
Oh,
was like, without me even having to ask the question, she did what I always wanted. And I just thought that was just phenomenal to me.
great. Tell me your experience about being a father for the first time.
So my experience with being a father for the first time, it just goes back to a conversation about my dad. I used to rock on his chest all night long. He would
Oh
be
my
like, so
God.
all of you, everybody who's like parents, they know your child would get on you and you would have to rock them, right? And then when you stop rocking, they will wake up and realize it. So you got to keep rocking. And I used to do that to my dad all the time at night. So now I have my own son, and I got this little guy on my chest, and I would be rocking all night long. And he would cry when I stopped rocking, and I would be like, "Oh my God, I got to go to work in the morning. This is crazy." And it hit me one day. I was like, "Wow, my dad used to do the exact same thing." And
Mm.
I used to give him this beautiful trouble of making him rock me all night long. And I was just like, wow, such a full circle. And something beautiful happened. You start to see similarities in yourself when you were a kid with them, and you're not the one that's realizing it. You're around your aunts and uncles, and they like, oh, that's you when you was younger. Oh, that's what you was doing. And they be like, don't get on him about that because while he did that, you put a whole entire hole in my wall, and this, that, and the third. And it's like you see so many different things, and it's just like I couldn't wait because I guess because I'm part of this world called personal development, it was different for me. But everybody's always like, "Yo, kids talk too much, and you got to tell them be quiet and this." And I'm like, "Yo, I can't wait till my son starts talking because there's so much stuff that I want to tell him. Like the things that I learned later in life, if I can give it to them early, I'm like that's how you make your child better than you are. You give them the things that you learned in half the time. It's the same as the philosophy of us why we read books from somebody that gives us all of their knowledge in a few pages. So it was just like super exciting for me. My children and my wife made me work a lot harder than what I probably would have. Like without them, I probably wouldn't work as hard as I did to make sure that I provided for them the right way.
It's interesting you say that story about your father. I haven't shared this story for a long time, but my father, when I was growing up, he was a teacher.
Mm.
So he was actually a teacher in the same public school for 38 years. And the thing is, when he would come home, 95% of the time, the first thing he would do was put on his pajamas. So, I'm going, okay, like summertime, it's like 6 o'clock at night. This man puts on his pajamas, right?
Hmm.
So I go like, this is really weird. And I'd have friends come over and they're going like, why is he, doing that? Like, why is he, it's like daylight. Like, why is,
Yeah.
and you say, look, he told me, son, when I come home, I don't want to go and have to spend any more money, even though when you're in the house, you got to spend money. But him thinking when you're going out, you got to spend money. So funny thing is, number of years ago, I got a Christmas present. Someone gave me a Christmas present. What do you think they gave me?
Pajamas
What do you think I love being in?
in your pajamas. Oh.
So I used to laugh and tease him all the time.
Now you understand the old man.
So it's like one of my mentors says, kids emulate what they replicate. And I said, that's so full circle. And people say, oh, I look like him. I walk like him, I talk like him. All these people say so I can so much relate in what you're saying in that story. That it's and especially I could go into other stories, but it's your spotlight, not my own. So let me put some more questions for you in regards to the father.
Okay.
So in your fatherhood journey so far, is there anything you wish you would have done differently?
Yeah, a lot of so I wish I would have read more books, not particularly about being a father, but books that give you information about the relationship between children and their parents. So for example, um I will definitely send you the name of this book. So if you have show notes, you can put it in there. But
Yeah,
there is a
absolutely.
book, okay? Because I don't want to mess the name of it. But there's a book, and I believe it's called "The Framework for Understanding Poverty." I believe it's the framework for understanding poverty. And in this book, it's a portion in it where it talks about children who are in a lower income household learn, but by the age I believe 4 or 5 years old, about 13,000 words. Children in a middle class household learn about 26,000 words at the same age. Children in an upper class household learn 46,000
Wow.
words by this time. And I don't even, and I definitely want to give the information for the book because I believe it's thousands. I don't know if it's million. Yeah, I believe it's thousands. So you look at it, a low income household, their child by the age of 4 or 5, 13,000 words. Middle class, 26,000 words. Upper class, 46,000 words. So you take the upper class and the lower class and you look at 46,000 words versus 13,000 words. The middle class between the lower class, 26,000 words versus 13,000 words. And it's also said that a child in a lower income household typically gets 6 negative comments to 1 good comment. That child that's in an upper class household gets 1 negative comment per every 6 positive comments.
Hmm.
So even if you're trying to discipline your children, even in the way that we do it, the way that we talk to them, just the daily interactions, it says a lot about who they are, how they are, and what they become. And so when I read that, I was like, wow, okay, we got to start talking and using more words around our children. We have to start making sure that although we have to raise them and chastise them, that we also have to tell them positive things. And so after that happened, I started leaving notes for my son. Like my sisters always tell me, like, your boys are so confident. My youngest son, he think he's the strongest person in the world and everybody wants to talk to him. We pulled up one day and we were parked and this gentleman started speaking to Roman. He's the 4-year-old, and you could tell the gentleman was trying to leave and was trying to walk away. And my wife's like, "All right, Roman, let the gentleman go." And then we went somewhere else, and she was like, "Roman, sit down." And he said, "No, I got to go over there and I got to talk to them." I said, "Why?" "Because I just had to." And she said, "Roman, sit down, boy. Ain't nobody trying to talk to you." And he started laughing and said, "What? Everybody wants to see me." And I just thought, like, how did a 4-year-old just now say that? Everybody wants to see me. And then, Josiah, he always walks around and says, "I'm a genius," and he's pretty smart for his age. He's at
I'm
the
a
he's
genius.
yeah he's at the top of his class. 7 years old.
Congratulations.
Thank you. He just won first place in a writing essay for school, so that's pretty cool. And it's like, yeah, he's smart, and he says different things, and he'd be like, "Yeah, I'm a genius." And equally as he gives himself compliments, he
Yeah.
also takes it hard when he loses stuff. And I know that he takes it hard not because he's a competitor, but because he wants to do well. And so I always tell him that's fine. It's like now Josiah's playing chess with me. Now I showed him how the pieces move one time. He still remembers and he knows all of the names. And because I couldn't play chess with him at first, he started playing himself. I'm like, dude, I didn't start learning how to do this till I was 16. But he's 7 years old playing himself in chess. And
Good
so
stuff.
so I would beat him in chess and he would be upset about it. And I say, yo, your job is not to beat me. Your job is just to keep getting better. Like, that's your job. It's just to keep getting better. It's not to beat me. So let's not be upset about not being able to beat Daddy. Daddy's been playing chess for a long time. Your
Yeah.
job is just so now he went from trying to beat me to, oh, I see what you're doing. I see
Oh
what your move
my
is. And
gosh.
so now I started teaching him that you don't just move this piece. You gotta think three
Strategy,
pieces ahead of time. Yeah.
strategy,
So now
strategy.
he's doing that. So now he's going ecstatic because we just had a stalemate. So for anybody that don't play chess, once you get to your last 2 pieces on the board, If or I get to my last piece. If you don't catch me in 25 moves, nobody wins. And so I said, listen, you not winning is better than you not losing. And I did a whole lot of stalemates before I actually got my first win. So you on your way. And so
Nice.
you try to teach these different things and instill stuff in them. So now every day when I leave out for work, not every day, but I just as many days as I can before I leave out for work in the morning, I will leave a note at his workstation because they pretty much learn it from home now. And the notes that I would leave him would say, Josiah, Daddy loves you, you're the best. Josiah, Daddy loves you, you're the smartest. Josiah, this. And when he was going to school, he was crying because these kids was teasing him and was bugging him about something. And I was just like, congratulations, And he was like, what? And I said, people are going to talk about you because they know how smart, they know how brilliant you are, and you're the best in the room. So don't worry about it. Those people, you gotta pray for them and help them out because they need something that you have. And so just be happy about it. And his whole attitude shifts and his changes about it. So like just that little piece of that book, it helped out so much that I wish I would have grabbed it earlier.
Hmm.
Because there's stuff that we know, but we don't pay attention to it. And so
Right.
now we have that attention to detail for it.
Nice. Why did you name your sons the names you gave them? What is the significance of the names of both your sons?
I didn't name neither one of them, but but yeah, I
Well,
didn't
what's the
name neither
meaning of
one.
the name?
Just
Because one of the things that I've got to do a series one day, especially with men, why do you have the name you do?
so it's a all right. So listen, it's just like buying a car, right? All you need is a couple facts to back up the want. That's it. A couple facts to back up the want. I need this Mercedes. Why? Well, look at the safety features. It's worth spending 100,000. Why not?
Okay.
So Roman and Josiah are both biblical names. Josiah, and it's crazy that you mentioned that because we was just talking to Josiah about this. Josiah and Roman's in the back seat, and Josiah be asking such questions, and he was like, "Where did my name come from?" And we
Mhm.
was like, "Josiah, your name is in the Bible. It's biblical. Like Josiah was a king when he was your age," and he was like, "What? He was a king?" We was like, "Yeah." And so Roman's like, "Josiah not a king?" We like, "No, Josiah in the Bible was a king when he was your brother's age, and
I
that's
don't
where
want
your
to. I
name."
don't want to message Josiah. I want to message like I know him enough. I don't need to be around. He gonna just lay it on me.
Listen, the other night he asked me. He was like, he said, "Can you have some time to spend with me?" I said, "Yeah." What's up, Josiah? I have some questions. I'm like, "What? What do you mean you have some questions?" I have some questions. I want to know what is all this. I said, "What do you mean? What's inside of my body? What's in here?" And so we had and I'm sweating bullets now because you got to have an answer.
Of
And
course.
I'm going through every part of the body, explaining to him what's the membrane and why you have a skull to protect your brain and your rib cage and what's underneath that and all this flesh and tissue and veins and showing him my veins and he got the same thing and getting a whole layout, a whole breakdown. And then one night he asks me, "Can you tell me about the year you was 8?" And I told him a few stories and he said, "No, that's not all you did. The whole entire year." I'm like, "Dude, who is this kid?" You know, the whole entire year. So,
Oh my
Josiah,
goodness.
Josiah's biblical. Roman also is biblical. Now, those are the facts. Those are the facts. The reasons why the names came up. Josiah, it was biblical, so that's what that was. Roman's name, so the Tyrese plays a character named Roman on Fast and the Furious. And one day my sister was like, "Oh, Roman, that's a lovely name. You should name your son Roman." And Leah was like, "Yeah, I do like that name." So because Roman and Fast and the Furious, she was like, "Yeah, I like that." And the
Okay.
and so that was the one. But that fact to back it up was that is another nice biblical name. Let's do it. Done deal.
There we go. All right.
Done deal.
Let me ask, do you feel if you look back when you became a father for the first time, compare to first time fathers now, do they have it easier or harder? First time
Harder,
fathers. Harder?
harder, harder,
Why do
harder.
you say that?
Because and I'm not too far off from them, but they have it harder because for one, um, so by us saying this is not going to be a bad thing. We bring awareness to it, so we're able to do our part in changing it. Children today are dying at a far rapid rate than they ever have before. Um, these children who are dying are not in high school; they're in middle school. The children who are in elementary school are greatly depressed, and they're going to middle school and they're dying. And why is that? Because they now live in a world where they have cell phones and they've grown up with it. And so they have these things called social media and all these different things that are taking place that are literally driving their mental force and structure to believe things that are not true. It was a time when we started having video phones and we talked about how children will one day not know what it's like to talk to somebody and not be able to see them. And then before I was around, they would say, we used to have to use the rotary phone to talk. So everything changes, and as we evolve and we get smarter, things also harm us. And I think that who's ever having children now, they have a harder fight to prove to their child to prove to their child who their child is. My son, we take the tablets, you take the phones away, and they would sit there first and be like, "Well, what the heck are we supposed to do? Well, there's nothing to do." I don't know, you kidding me? You got a whole room full of toys. You got martial arts stuff in here. You got, all these different things, but they so used to being on devices and they watch other people live, they
Yeah.
forgot how to do it themselves. One day, this was I forgot what holiday season it was, but we looked outside and no children were playing. They were all on their devices, and it's like, so as a whole, the mental was changing, and then also your physical was changing because you used to be able to go outside and be healthy just by naturally running and ripping and doing all these different things. And so it's like, newer parents have to just make sure they have balance. You can't take that stuff from them completely because that's not smart. The whole world is becoming technology savvy, and that's where a lot of careers and jobs and things are going to be. And you're going to need that just to live, period. So you have to know it, but you also have to give them balance as well. But it's easier for someone else who's already had children to give balance because that fight is not as hard. But imagine having a child now where as soon as they come out, they start learning and understanding these things that older people didn't see until they were already 15, 16, 30, 40, 50, that now they're automatically programmed to it. So whereas you learn your lessons from your parents and your family, you got it when you went to school from peer pressure and your peers, but now you don't even have to leave the house and you're watching God knows what now.
Okay. What was one of the hardest moments you've had as a father, and why was it hard?
One of the hardest moments I had as a father, I would say one, not being upset and showing that I was. So one day I go to pick my son up from school and I felt like I couldn't help him or defend him. Out of nowhere, he had a black eye and a busted lip. And I get to his school and no one knows how it happened, where it happened. I speak to his teacher and he's like, he didn't come to school that way. Immediately, I wanted to go off. But um, it was a mixed school. There were fewer black children at the school than there was Caucasians at the school, and I don't recall there being any African American instructors. There were Latino people administration, so it was hard for me to sit there and say I need to defend my child. But if I respond the way that I really have the right to, we're going to be looked at as different. And I just felt horrible that, whatever happened to him, I wasn't there to take care of it. I was there to be able to explain what happened or, get a good, accurate story from him. Nobody can really prove anything to us. He's not at that school anymore, but I just think that's difficult. And that's something that you can't stop or change. And that's what's hard for any parent, that there's stuff that's going to happen that's out of your control, because you're not in the care for your children all the time. And then one time there was a situation where I realized how easy it is to steal when you're hungry. I was at the market and I knew that money was going to be short. It was shortly after my son was born. So I put a lot to the side and that was starting to run low. And we went to the market and my son's a baby in the cart and he's crying. And my wife was with me. And instead of getting all the things we wanted, we're just picking certain items to purchase. And I just remember like, yo, I don't want to be in a position where my family has to be hungry and I don't like this feeling and it just makes me feel awful. But I'm doing everything I can to provide for them and it wasn't enough. And a couple items was in our cart. The person forgot to ring us up and there was items for my son to eat. And the hardest thing, it was just looking at it and just like, wow, I now understand, honestly, I now understand what honest people go through when they're hungry and they're trying to feed their family. And for a split second, I was like, dang, They didn't ring us up. We could leave without this. And then I was like, I can't do that. And so I put the stuff back, and it would have been easier if it was mine, but it was the food that was for my son that I had to make the conscious decision to put back. And I was like, yo, I can understand if
Wow.
someone suffered through that process.
That's, wow, it's a serious story. Thank you. Thank you for that. As we start winding down here, I've got 2 or 3 more conversation pieces for you. Give me the 3 happiest moments you've had in life to date.
And in life, or just being a father.
Okay, you know what? Since we're doing dad's talking, 3 happiest moments you've had as a father.
One would be, I'm not going to say my children being born. Well, I say everybody, hopefully will be happy about that. One of the happiest moments, Josiah just got honor roll.
Oh,
And we're excited about that because he was already doing phenomenal in school. But here's the problem. They said Josiah does good in all his classes. He does very well. His only problem is computers. Then the pandemic started, and now his entire school is on the computer.
yeah.
So it was an extreme difficult process. And this marking period, he got back to what he used to be, and he received honor roll. So yeah, so shout out to Josiah for that. Another moment for me would be realizing that my children will learn from the things that I am doing and not the things that I'm saying. So I would try to teach Josiah martial arts, and it wouldn't work. He would play around, he would joke around, he wouldn't do it. And I was like, man, I'm trying to teach him, I'm trying to show him this stuff, and he was just being goofy all the time. But now I have a wooden dummy in my house, and a wooden dummy is an instrument that you use for specifically Wing Chun martial arts. They use it, and then it helps you perform application on it. And one day I'm making breakfast and I'm making pancakes, and I hear the hitting. Now, you know how when you have a gift or skill at something, when it's being done right, you can tell even when you're not looking at it.
Absolutely.
And I hear Josiah hitting the wooden dummy, and I'm mixing up the pancakes, and I hear the noise, and I'm like, Josiah, are you on the wooden dummy? And he said yes. And so I tried to sneak and record him. In fact, if I find a video, I'm gonna send it to you, Dr. Val, so you can see it. I tried to sneak and record him, and I got maybe 40 seconds of him doing it, maybe 30. And to see that he was actually doing it the right way, it was like mind-boggling to me because me and his godfather, my friend David, we train all the time together, and he always play around, always be joking, never wanted to do it, but he's watching the whole entire time. And so now, without us, we're saying, okay, let's not try to train him. Let's just do it around him. He's picking up everything that we're doing and watching us do it. And so to see him do that, it was like, fascinating for me because it's something that he can pass on to his little brother. Defending himself is the last thing on the list, but by him doing that, he's learning so many other things as far as confidence, being able to look people in the eye. As a man, you want to be able to talk to people, not being scared, not being timid. It's hard to raise a black child in this country, and so to see that he's doing something that I know will instill greatness and confidence in him, and he's not even trying to learn it as in we're teaching it to him, and he's just picking it up. I was just so happy about that, and I felt like something was getting through. I believe that the first moment for me, I don't feel like I'm an adult. I feel like I'm still a child. Everybody still calls me Little Sammy. Like I just know that I'm Sam. I might be 34, but I don't feel like I'm an adult. When Josiah had his first birthday, and Roman had his first birthday, I was on the grill and I was cooking. And at both of their first birthdays, there was children running around and playing and all these different things. And it was literally the poster boy presentation. I had the towel flapped over my shoulder, the pitchfork flipping the stuff that was on the grill, the children running around. And I was like, wow, for the first time in my life, I actually feel like I'm an adult because I am grilling at my son's first birthday party. And
Mm,
it was just such an amazing feeling to see that I was able to do something, so nice for them. So I was just always excited about that. Everybody in my life always given to me. And so now I'm in a position where I'm the person that's doing. So it is very great.
nice. 2 more conversation pieces. Is there something you wish is there something you would like to experience, but you haven't experienced it yet in your life?
Yes. So All right, two things. So one, and I'm gonna make it quick. My father, he got up to the point where he made 50,000 in 1 month, and he always wanted a Mercedes. And when he got to the point where he made 50,000 in 1 month, he went to go purchase the Mercedes. And when he went to go purchase it, he put his hand on the car handle, and then he decided he didn't want it anymore. And he realized that he wanted it because it was a nice thing and it was something that he couldn't have. But once he got to the point where he can get it, it just didn't interest him anymore. Now he wound up buying it before he passed away, but I just thought, man, that was just such a great thing. And so now I'm navigating through life and I know that there's certain things that I want and I'm pushing to get to that position where I can say, did I really want it or did I self-consciously want it
Hmm.
because these are things that I could not have. And it's like, that's such freedom, to be able to have the finances to get whatever, but you don't. That's like a true level of discipline and freedom, and that's what I'm fighting for. Like I was telling my uncle the other day, I can't wait till I get to that point where I can do those type of things where the money in the bank account does not match the physical things that I have because you're not buying them just because you want them. And that's cool. Like I can say that now, but what happens when I do have the $1 million in the bank? Do I still feel the same way? Do I still have the discipline? My cousin just told me, like, yo, I'm about to buy a new car. I want a nice one. I say, get it. You deserve it. You work hard for it. But when you purchase the car, purchase it because you can get it, also pay for it, and also fix it if it messes up. If you can do all those things, then yeah, you truly can provide it and earn it. Then go ahead and grab it. So I just want to be in that position to be able to do that.
Nice. And finally, how would you like to be remembered?
I would like to be remembered where people can say, out of everything he did, I get a lot of people that tell me I need to go to sleep more. I get a lot of people that tell me I need to rest and I need to take care of myself. And they're not saying anything wrong, but they're also not in my position. You can't tell the man who's taking care of his wife and two children that he needs to rest when his wife doesn't work. His wife is in school and his wife is about to be the first one in her family to have a degree in her entire family. You can't tell me to rest when I'm trying to provide and do something so I can work hard in these next 5 years so we can enjoy and actually relax the next 20. Because you're not chasing the same thing I'm chasing, you cannot tell me to relax. Let the person who's chasing what I want to chase tell me to relax. I know that I need to sleep. We all need to sleep. That's why it happens every single day. And when it don't, you have sleep deprivation. But I just need that to for something to be able to happen. And so, you know, just thinking about that, I know that when I go, people are going to say, at the end of it all, this person actually gave what he had to everyone. We're supposed to leave this earth empty and not full. When I leave this earth, I know that people are going to be able to say he left it empty. And the best thing about it is what I left here, I know will help people long after I'm gone. And that's what I really want to be said when I'm no longer here, that I was able to actually help people and that they realize and see that I put others first. And not everybody does that, but we all have a job to do, and that one is just mine.
Amazing. Any final things you want to share this for dads who are watching this, dads and dads and those who love them? Any
Yeah,
final words you'd like to share?
yes, it's no script. There is no how to. You just got to go with the punches. You do the best that you can. Try not to teach your kids more. Show them more. You can teach them anything you want, and they won't listen. You didn't listen. But as Dr. Vibe said earlier, they will mimic and they will duplicate the things that they see you do. So just by you trying to make your child better, it will help you become better if you do it the right way. You want your child to be healthier, you be healthier. You want your child to be a better reader in school, you start picking up a book and reading. And I think that's how life is connected. In order for you to help them, you have to be better. And once you're better, you can pour into them. But what made you better was them.
Beautiful. Sam, it was worth the wait.
Yes,
we
sir.
went back and forth and back and forth, but you know what? It was fully worth the wait.
I'm so
I'd
happy to
say,
be here with you.
yeah, and the mic is open anytime you want to come back on. Want to bless everything that you, past, present, and future, are doing, and the Dr. Vibe family would like to give blessings to your family now and going forward. Anything we can do to help you and your family, please ask.
Thank you.
We're here for you. For those who are watching this, I just put up Sam's Instagram. It's diamond underscore mind underscore results. So that I'm saying it also because people may be just listening to this. So it's diamond underscore mind underscore results. And his YouTube channel is Diamond Mind Results. So epic conversation, Sam. Most important thing for you and your family, keep safe and give yourselves grace.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. It's Dr. Vibe. I'm the host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of epic conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020 Podcast News and 2018 Innovation Award given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Also, I host the only online show in the world for fathers and dads. It's sponsored by Dove Men Care. It's also co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. And I am also the board chair for the Global Food and Drink Initiative. It is a multimedia not-for-profit that showcases Blacks in the diaspora that are involved in food, wine, and travel. I'd like to thank everyone who watches live on the replay today. If you want to get in touch with me, best way, here's my website address, thedrvibeshow.com. All things Dr. Vibe there. So if you want to reach out to me, if you have any feedback or comments, if you want to be on the show, or if you know someone that needs to be on the show, you can contact me through that. Also, if you're watching this and if you'd like to get on the mailing list, I will send you a little special something for joining the Dr. Vibe show mailing list. And that website address is thedrvibeshow.com/offer. So if you're watching this, you'll see it. If you're listening, I'll say it again, thedrvibeshow.com/offer. So, as always, I end off my conversation like this. Live your life as a dream if you can dream it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect, and remember to give yourselves grace. God bless, peace be well, keep the faith, and walk good, and thanks for watching.